Good morning and welcome to the Rangers Review morning briefing for Thursday, the 1st of September. We're into autumn, Craig. How are we getting on transfer deadline day?
Yeah, it could be bedlam, but it could also be very, very quiet. So let's see what the next 12 or so hours brings.
Yeah, absolutely. So many comments coming in already. A lot of supporters wanting activity at Ibrox. We'll see if that will unfold today. Before we talk all things Rangers, though, folks, as you can see, the little ticker below, we've still got that fantastic offer on the website just now, just £2 for 2 months worth of content. Head over to rangersreview.co.uk/subscribe for all the details. I've stuck the link in, as always, in the comments section. So if you hit that, you can go and sign up. Just £2.99 per month thereafter. But loads of you signing up and taking advantage of the website. So thank you for doing so. And it's not just our YouTube channel, which thousands of you also subscribing to that. It's totally free, of course, to YouTube, but loads of great stuff on the website as well. Okay, let's talk Rangers. Craig, transfer deadline day, as we mentioned. At the moment, nothing in terms of incomings that we are aware of. Rangers do like to keep their cards close to their chest. Not expecting anyone at this stage. That can, of course, change throughout the day if things materialise. There's lots of different factors that have to happen in terms of transfers, players maybe going out the door at different clubs or even Rangers that then forces the recruitment team into action. We've discussed at length and have many supporters about the need for a right winger and possibly a centre forward as well. At this stage of the day, Craig, what is it, 9:35? Can you see any incomings at this stage of the day at Ibrox?
Probably on the more pessimistic side and say no. I think when you think back to the January transfer window and obviously Ramsey coming in on deadline day, it was around about this time where the rumour was sort of gathering pace and people were actually realising that this deal could happen. And I think, as you say, obviously the club do like to keep the cards close to their chest, but I think if there was any incomes, we would have probably heard some whispers by now, at least from maybe the players' side. So yeah, I'm tempted to go along with no, which is disappointing, but we can probably discuss that a bit more. But yeah, I'm probably leaning towards no, and I'm definitely on the more pessimistic side.
Yeah. Listen, who knows what can happen in transfer deadline day? Of course, the window shuts at 12 midnight tonight. It's a long day. Clubs across the country will be wheeling and dealing throughout the course of the day. Agents, their phones will be ringing off the hook as well. So anything can happen, folks. And what will happen is if there is any activity with regards to Rangers, we'll come on and do videos throughout the day as well. So we'll keep you updated throughout the course of the transfer deadline day. Let's get to some of the a report this morning, actually, Craig, I wanted to touch on with regards to those transfers and a possible outgoing. Glenn Kamara, apparently in Nice, Ligue 1 in France, who've actually taken Aaron Ramsey from Juventus. They're apparently preparing a £10 million bid for Glenn Kamara. Now, this is a club that have been linked with the Finn throughout the course of the summer, as far as I can remember. Can you see Glenn Kamara leaving on deadline day today?
I don't doubt there's interest, but I mean, it sort of backs the club against the wall if you are selling players, especially this close to deadline day. And I'm sure if there was, maybe an urgency to maybe move on Kamara, then there would have been, we would have seen it, days before this, because it is such a difficult time to sell. And obviously it depends on the fee, and if you are getting a sort of extortionate fee or more than you bargained for, but I think it would back the club against the wall. And I do take the point that Kamara, I think we've seen that he isn't completely suited to Gio's system. I don't think he's very much a Gio's type of player, but I think he's, again, thinking back to last week in PSV and how crucial he was to that performance and getting through. And I'm sure people that are drawing up their 11s for going to Celtic on Saturday, I'm sure Kamara would feature in a lot because he is so good in these games and his quality's never in doubt. But it is difficult. If a club does come in and meet the club's evaluation, then sometimes you do need to move these players on. But it's so difficult, especially on deadline day. And once you move one player on, when you move on to your next target, clubs realise that you're getting desperate. So yeah, I think if Rangers were looking to move on Kamara, I think they would have tried to hurry Nice along, especially weeks before now, because it was a few weeks ago that the interest was first raised. So yeah, I think it'd be really difficult to lose any player, especially one that is as good as Kamara on deadline day.
Yeah, that report coming out this morning, folks. As yet, I believe no official bid for Glenn Kamara as it stands, but watch this space. One player who has departed, Craig, it was announced yesterday, is Niko Katic. He's joined FC Zurich for an undisclosed fee. He was out the picture, of course, at Rangers ever since suffering that long-term injury, unfortunately, which hampered his Ibrox career. Nito, he goes with the club's best wishes, of course. He'll always have that special place in the heart of many Rangers supporters for his goal at Parkhead. But there just wasn't room for him, was there? Or was there, given some of the injuries in the Rangers backline? For me, I think it's a good move all round for all parties.
Yeah, I'd agree. I just don't think it really suited, not even Gio's style, but just the general, what's required for a centre back at Rangers. You need to be really accomplished on the ball. You need to be able to pass through the thirds, and that's something that Katic lacked. I remember when I was looking at his performances in Croatia when he was back on loan last season. I think what you saw was a very accomplished penalty box defender. He's never scared to put his body on the line. Really good in the air, really strong in duels, but on the ball is where he really lacks. And I think that's something that Rangers obviously need. I think you've saw that from Goldson over the years, the way he's developed in possession, and you've seen it obviously by, even from Sands and then in these brief appearances, how accomplished he is on the ball. So yeah, I think Katic, when he did sign, obviously that first season under Gerrard, I think he provided a really good option. It was an upgrade definitely in what Rangers had defensively. And, he obviously scored that very important goal at Celtic Park, which he will always be remembered by. But, yeah, I just don't think he really suited what Rangers demand of a centre-back. But best wishes to him, because I think that if he is playing in the right system where it does accentuate his defensive qualities, then I think he can have a very good career.
Yeah, we wish him well, Nico. Hopefully you go and smash it over in Switzerland. Another player that looks to be heading out, Craig, is... what are you drinking there? That looks like a sample.
A little orange juice. Nothing major.
Yeah. Another player that looks to be heading out the Ibrox exit door is Stephen Kelly. Now, again, it looks very congested, the midfield department. He's not had a look in at the start of this season. I think, again, he's another player, Craig, where I think it's in his best interest. For the sake of his career, he goes and finds football elsewhere. There were mummerings, Livingston, but we're hoping to bring him into the Tony Macaroni. But yeah, he's another one we expect to head out the door. Are you disappointed to see him leave, or do you think it's probably the best move all round?
Yeah, again, sort of similar along the lines with Katic. He was so far down the pecking order that it wasn't much good for his career to stick around. And I think the thing with Kelly, when you think back to last pre-season under Gerrard, I thought he was one of the standouts in pre-season in terms of what he produced, and I thought he suited Gerrard's system a lot more than what Van Bronckhorst wants. And it was disappointing, obviously, to see him go out last season. I think there was a few eyebrows raised. I think people thought maybe he would stick around and maybe play some of these cup games or games against lower Scottish Premiership teams, especially because he was sort of that understudy to Davis and he could learn off him. But I think obviously when he went out on loan last season, the writing was on the wall, and I think he's a tidy player in possession, but I think obviously what he lacks is just that physicality. He's obviously not on the tall side, and he's definitely not on the strong side. But again, similar to Katic, hopefully he can go out and have a decent career. But I think it's for the good of his career more than anything. I think the Rangers needed to find a solution. So yeah, best luck to him.
Yeah. Expect to see him moving on at some point today. Do you see any other possible outgoings today, Craig? There's a number of fringe players, of course. I'm thinking Robbie McCrory, perhaps. I think, again, he's another one like Stephen Kelly. I think for the good of his career, he needs to be playing football as much as it's great having a top quality number 3 goalkeeper. I think he's at an age where he has to play. But is there any others you think that could be moving on today?
Yeah, I think we touched on it yesterday in terms of, McCrory and obviously his lack of minutes, and does he want to spend 6 months on the bench before he assesses his options in January, because he's obviously had that season-long loan at Livy and he's went through that. So it's a bit where, if he has leave, then you're probably looking at a more permanent deal, and maybe Rangers aren't prepared to sanction that, and they want to have 3 keepers around. I think, as we touched on yesterday, you look at guys like Leon King and Charlie McCann. They're at the age and they're probably at the stage of the development where they need to play at a higher level than Lowland League football. I think you saw their qualities on Tuesday night, and I'm sure there has been some interest, especially, imagine there's some interest maybe from Championship for Leon King and Charlie McCann, and maybe Rangers are hoping that maybe a lower Scottish Premiership club can bite. But I think when you look at the two, that I know there's obviously not been many murmurings about going on loan, and I think McCann said on Tuesday night that he wants to stay and fight for his place. But I think when you look at these guys, you'd rather they go out and get some Premiership football at least for 6 months, and then you can take stock of the situation in January. But yeah, I can't see anyone going out the window unless it is a late loan for one of these guys.
Yeah. Lots of comments coming in. We know it's been doing the rounds. Ross Barkley, Craig, I know you touched on it a few days ago. Scott Dees gets in touch. Ross Barkley is a free agent. They could be saving the money for him. He doesn't need to sign today. Of course, that's right. Not sure how I feel about that potential deal, though. I'm not too enamoured with it, I've got to admit. I think there's obviously a reason why Chelsea have ripped up his contract. I know he's got experience in the Premier League, but I'm not quite sure that's the sort of player that Rangers need. Do you disagree?
Yeah, we touched on it yesterday in terms of he's obviously not played a lot of football in recent years, and there are those obvious parallels with Ramsey. And I do take the point that I don't think Barkley is as injury prone as Ramsey. The dynamics are slightly different in terms of if Barkley was coming in, he's coming in as a permanent signing. So, the difference with Ramsey is he was coming in for 6 months, and Rangers had such narrow window to get him fit. And when he did get him fit, he would break down again. So, he only had, 6 months to prove his worth. And in the end, I think we can all agree that he probably didn't. But I think dynamics are obviously different with Barkley in terms of if he comes in, he'd be our player, and he's got time to settle in. And he's obviously, I think he's a couple of years younger than Ramsey. But I think I touched on it a few days ago. I think you'd rather see the club invest in someone on the younger side who you can flip for profit in a few years. Again, with Barkley and Ramsey, one of the things was that these players, I know they've got undoubted talent, but I think their hunger obviously goes. Barkley's obviously played for a top 6 club in England. He's sort of proved himself similar to Ramsey, Arsenal and Juventus. Although coming to Rangers, it's an exciting challenge for these guys. They've got very little to prove in their career. So, yeah, I think I'd rather see Rangers invest in someone younger. But again, you'd obviously need to pay a higher transfer fee. And I do take the point that Bartley will be coming in a free. But yeah, I'd rather that Rangers probably stayed clear of that and invest in someone a bit younger.
Yeah. Of course, the other name that, look, there's the sun is shining through my window there. I'll just move that around. That's a bit better. Evander's other name, Craig. Now, that's the one, of course, we've done scouting reports on him, the FC Michelin player. We know all about him. He's come up against Rangers before in the Europa League, also scored against Celtic in the competition. He is one that the supporters want. He's obviously been heavily linked. The club not really suggesting anything with regards to him. That's how they like to conduct their business, Rangers. They don't let any cats out the bag until pretty much the deal is signed, sealed, and delivered. How much is he a player you would love to see pitching up at Ibrox today?
Yeah, I think we all would, but I think it's probably contingent again on someone going in the other direction, and you'd imagine he's probably the replacement for Kamara. So it's one of those trade-offs about, you know, do you want to lose players on deadline day? But I think we'd all like to see him. I think, you know, I'm not, you know, I don't have extensive knowledge of him, and obviously we have watched some clips, and I think Josh put up a piece on the website a few weeks ago about him. But again, he is the type of player that moves a needle for Rangers, though, with his quality, and it's something that I don't think Rangers have invested enough in these type of players. They've obviously lost out in recent years in terms of these players that do command these fees, maybe north of 5 million, and obviously Yilmaz is one player that Rangers have really pushed the boat out, and I think we're all excited to see him and how he develops. And
yeah,
again, you know, Evander's that type of player where you sort of do need to speculate, to accumulate, and you do need to push out the boat for these players, because regardless if there's managerial change at Rangers or how much the squad changes, these players are sort of constants, and they've got that quality. And I think Rangers have missed out on them too much, especially with the likes of, you know, Veerman in recent years and Skov Olsen. So I guess some people are seeing parallels with that and saying, look, the club are missing out on another target. But I think the relative lack of activity, I think, suggests that if Evander comes in, then imagine it will be for if Kamara's going the other way.
Yeah. Lots of comments coming in, folks. We'll try and get to a few more of them. Just a reminder, if anything happens with regards to transfers at Rangers today, we'll come on and do some updated videos throughout the course of the day. So keep your eyes peeled for those. And if you've not subscribed to our YouTube channel, then do so. It means that you'll never miss a video when we go live, and you can keep up to date with all that's going on today. Lots of comments coming in with regards Billy Gilmore. He's a player that seems to be linked with Rangers every single transfer window. Craig, Stephen Kirkland says, go and get Billy Gilmore. Last I heard, Brighton were hoping to strike a deal with Chelsea to bring him in on a permanent deal. I don't think Rangers are getting Billy Gilmore, I've got to be honest. That's just my personal opinion. But would you like to see Rangers try and bring him home, as they say?
Yeah, I think similar to Evander, I think we'd all like to see that, but I think Gilmore would rather play at a higher level than come to the Scottish Premiership. And I know obviously Rangers now have that allure of Champions League football, but at the end of the day, it is only 6 games, and I think that Gilmore can play at a high level. I think, you know, going off topic, I think Brighton would be a terrific move for him in terms of the way that obviously Graham Potter plays football, and I'm just surprised that he has fallen out of favour at Chelsea. I think you look at, even think back to last season and the injury crisis that Chelsea had in midfield, I think that Gilmore would definitely got a game, and I think obviously hindsight's 2020, but that loan move to Norwich was obviously a mistake. But yeah, moving back to Rangers, I think we'd all love to see him, but I think he probably has eyes on playing at a higher level, and I think he deserves that, because I think he's a super talented player.
Yeah, totally agree. Some comments coming in with regards to Charlie Mccann. Kenny says, let's get Mccann and Lowry more involved. Of course, Lowry's out injured for some time. Let's hope that's not as long. Giovanni van Bronckhorst did say weeks when he was asked about him, I think last week, it was, after that horrendous challenge from Ali Love down at Dumbarton. But Charlie McCann's an interesting one. I wrote a piece in the website, folks. You can go and check it out. It's on it's one of our newsletters, daily newsletters we send out free of charge. I touched on Leon King and Charlie McCann. For me, they're at a stage in their careers where they're too good to be playing lowland league football, Craig, but I'm not quite sure they're going to get enough game time in the first team. Would you like to maybe see McCann and King move out on loan somewhere, or do you think, I'm thinking more so King here with the injuries to the defenders, well, the players out at the moment, the likes of John Suter, Ben Davis, Phil Hollander, of course, Niko Katic has been sold. It might be worthwhile keeping King around just in case. But Charlie McCann is one. I think he can play right now in the first team. I've got no qualms about if Giovanni van Bronckhorst played him even on Saturday. I think he's a real talent. But if he's not going to get, upwards of 10 games this season, I think it may be best to send him out on loan.
Yeah, he is such a talented player, and I think even you saw his quality again on Tuesday, and you saw his quality in pre-season, and it's probably a similar situation to Stephen Kelly last season. We obviously touched on him a couple of minutes ago, but in terms of needing minutes, but Rangers are so stacked in midfield, especially with that Gerrard hangover. You know, Gerrard loved just signing midfielders, and all these players,
Yeah.
they're all sort of similar, sort of behind the ball profiles in terms of Davis, Kamara, Jack. You obviously got Lundstrom as well, so it is such a congested area. And we touched on it yesterday in terms of Mccann. He's obviously 20 years old, so he's not 18 now. He's developing, and he's getting to that age where he needs to play football. You know, it's no use turning out the Lowland League because he is too good for that level, and you saw his quality against these teams that are at a high level in terms of Queen of the South or in League One. So yeah, I'd love to see him go on loan, especially to a Premiership club. But even failing that,
what if you could handpick a club, Craig? Where would you like to see him going to?
and pick a club. You'd obviously love to see him at a higher level, but you imagine someone like a Ross County who you obviously play pretty decent football, and Stephen Kelly had a really good loan spell at Ross County a couple of seasons ago, and I think everyone thought that he would kick on and play in the Rangers first team after that, but obviously it never materialised. So I think looking at a club like that, but even failing that, you'd like to see him at least in the Championship, and I do understand the argument that the Championship can be a pretty physical league, and it's obviously a lot transition based, so there's not a lot of teams that build from the back and suit Mccann's qualities. But yeah, you'd love to see him. I think it's a really missed opportunity if even over the next 6 months he is sort of playing in a Lowland League, because I know there's sort of injuries in this Rangers team, but it is such a congested area. So yeah, I don't want to go about old ground as what we've been speaking about earlier and what we spoke about yesterday, but I definitely would like to see him go out on loan.
Yeah, different clubs coming in. People would like to see perhaps him heading out. I love this comment that's came in from Andrew Gill. He says, disgrace that Lundstrom isn't on the Ballon d'Or list. I totally agree, Andrew. No idea what they're thinking about with regards to that. He's surely a shoe-in for that award. So listen, it's going to be an interesting day, folks. At the moment, nothing to report in terms of incomings or outgoings. Just to recap again, outgoing announced yesterday, Niko Katic heading over to Switzerland on a permanent deal to join FC Zurich. And Stephen Kelly, we believe, also heading towards the Ibrox exit door. Let's touch on something slightly different, Craig. The League Cup draw was made yesterday. Rangers, of course, progressing after defeating Queen of the South by 3-1. They will now take on Dundee at home in the last 8. I think you can't really complain about that. Any home tie, I think, at this stage is a good one. Yeah,
it's a big opportunity as well to get back to Hampden. Obviously, Gio has a domestic cup under his belt already, and I think that's when he came from Feyenoord, people were quick to notice that he was very proficient in these cup competitions, and I think you've even saw in Europe how good he is at sort of navigating these cup ties. So yeah, it's a big opportunity, and I think obviously getting back to Hampden again would be great. I think if you look back to last season, and there's probably a score to settle in the League Cup. I think Rangers obviously disappointed themselves in that semi-final when Gio was obviously watching on, and the rest is sort of history. So yeah, I think everyone would have preferred the home tie, and I think we've got that. So it's a great opportunity.
Yeah, I'd fancy Rangers progress against lower league opposition. And we'll talk in great detail tomorrow about the game on Saturday, Craig, but Susie Sheep gets in touch. Thoughts on Saturday's game? At this stage, everything can change, of course. There may be new players to report on tomorrow, but at this stage, we'll just have a wee quick discussion about Saturday. It's huge, of course. Rangers go into the game at Parkhead 2 points behind. Celtic flying in the league, scoring goals for fun. Parkhead, difficult venue to go to. How do you see this one panning out?
I think what you have to credit Gio with is when you think back to the 3-0 game in February, and less said about that the better. But I think when you look at the approach that evening, it was, look at the defensive approach, and it was very man orientated, and Rangers were carved open. Celtic killed us with their wide rotations, and the game was done by half time. But you look at the development of how Gio's approached these games since then, and even a 2-1 defeat at Ibrox, which effectively rendered the league over. You look at the approach, and Rangers pressed Celtic really well that afternoon. They got the early goal through Ramsey, and they probably should have doubled the lead, but they just weren't clinical in the final third when they won the ball. They conceded 2 cheap goals and 2 goals at a terrible time. And then you look at the semi-final, which was obviously a sort of 180 flip from the 3-0 defeat, and Rangers were really aggressive in their approach. They made tweaks to how to contain Celtic. They had Bassi and Rogic, and they exploited Celtic's left-hand side. They got their goal from that. Obviously, they switched from Goldson to Tavernier and then across to Arfield, and Rangers were really good. They deserved to win that afternoon, even if it did go to extra time. And then you even think of the 1 each at Celtic Park towards the end of the season, which didn't really matter much in the context of the season. But again, Rangers had their chances towards the end, obviously through Sakala and Arfield. But again, that day that they got their approach right. I know Celtic had their chances in the first half, especially they doubled the lead, but Rangers went over the press. They didn't try to play through it as they did, a couple of months earlier at Celtic Park. And they had Joy just going direct to Tavernier. And then you look at sort of pre-season and how Rangers have developed since then. And, I'm obviously going to hopefully have a piece up on the website tomorrow about this, but there's been a change in goals in terms of McLaughlin's game for McGregor. And with that brings a lot more ownership of the ball. McLaughlin's more comfortable with the ball at his feet. Yeah. Rangers will be able to build from deep, and that's something that they haven't been able to do successfully against Celtic. And obviously going to Celtic Park with obviously the crowd and how few Rangers fans it is risky to obviously play out, but I think you've seen it against PSV last week that Rangers have really improved in terms of how they build from the back, and they are confident and they can go away to these difficult venues and play. So I think it'll be interesting to see how much Rangers have developed in that case. I think PSV away is a really good blueprint for Rangers to follow, not only in terms of what they do in possession, but out of possession. I think they pressed really well that night. They were very much man-orientated, but they were also clever enough to know that sometimes you do need to sort of, defend spaces and control the game a bit more, and they struck the balance between pressure and control really well. So I think if you look at the PSV game, I think there's a blueprint there for Gio to follow. So I think there is a lot for Rangers to be optimistic about. I know obviously Celtic have started the season well and they're scoring goals and they do have home advantage, but I think Gio's shown that he can navigate these big games really, really well. So I think there's a lot to be encouraged about, but hopefully Rangers on the day, they can defend well enough and they can take their chances so they can get a good result.
Yeah. And we'll have a big preview tomorrow, folks, ahead of that game on Saturday. We'll just take a few more of the comments that are coming in. Colin Cooper gets in touch, says, hi, I watched Columbus Crew last night. James Sands' brother looked to play. Any info on him? Got to say, no, Colin, I'm not aware of his brother. Are you, Craig, at all about James's brother? No?
He's got a twin. I think he's got a twin brother. Yeah, I know that, but I don't know how good he is, but I know that he does have a twin brother.
Well, there you go. Get him signed, Rangers. But yeah, you can. Thanks for your scouting report, Colin. We'll go and check him out. Some other points coming in. Kenny gets in touch. Thanks for the excellent 150th anniversary magazine, lads. Absolutely fantastic. Excellent read. No problem at all, Kenny. And loads of people actually sending messages in asking if they can get a copy. I'm led to believe they're sold out at the moment. I'm not entirely sure when we're getting a new batch in. But as soon as we do, we'll let you know on that front. And Michael Smart says, any news on Lawrence injury? This is a rumour that's doing the round saying that he's out for a number of weeks. Now, we're not entirely sure the accuracy of that and how long, if he's out for. However, when we speak to Giovanni van Bronckhorst tomorrow, he'll give us an injury update, and he'll let us know exactly if there is an issue with regards to Tom Lawrence. We'll bring you that as soon as we get it. Okay, folks, I think that'll do us there. Thanks to everyone for getting in touch as ever. As I mentioned earlier on, if there is any activity at Ibrox at any point today, we'll come on the video and we'll update you with what is going on. As it stands, no incomings and outgoings at this stage at just, 2 minutes past 10. But of course, it is a long day on transfer deadline day. So stay tuned to the Rangers Review site and our social media accounts for all the latest. And just a reminder, we've got that offer on the website just now, just £2 for 2 months worth of content. Head over to rangersreview.co.uk/subscribe for all the details. Okay, we'll be back later on. But until then, enjoy your Thursday morning.